minute, who's that?
Underdog, don't you know anything?
Well, I know it wouldn't hurt him to use some cartoons made in the last 50 years.
Son, this is a tradition. If you start building a balloon for every flash-in-the-pan cartoon character, you'll turn the parade into a farce.
American Dad is no stranger when it comes to the traditional holiday specials. Christmas? They've covered it numerous times. I actually have a whole video about it, where they have their own little spins each time that help make each Christmas special either stand out compared to other shows, or build upon previous episodes covering Christmas, sort of forming their own little arc. Halloween? A lot less frequent, but still plenty enough to be worth noting, with them just airing a fun Scooby-Doo themed one this year. And Thanksgiving? Yeah, they've covered Thanksgiving once or twice before. They did an okay job, yeah. Okay, I might be lying. But yeah, I'm really not a big fan of either of their Thanksgiving episodes, and to be frank, I don't think a lot of people are either, given that there's only 2 of them in such close proximity to one another. I mean, they had only 2 Halloween specials for a while too, until very recently when they just decided to start making them again, and I'm actually kinda glad they're still doing them. They can be pretty fun. For Thanksgiving though, to put things in perspective, there hasn't been a new American Dad Thanksgiving episode since the Fox run of the show. Yeah, it's been that long, so what gives? Are they really that bad? Why don't I like them that much? And is it justified that there hasn't been a new Thanksgiving episode in exactly 10 years from this date? If you're watching this any other day other than November 24th, 2023, pretend you didn't hear that last part. Well, let's look over both of these and find out if there's any merit to why American Dad went cold turkey on Thanksgiving episodes.
Ah ha ha ha! Ah!
Oh God!
Oh.
Stop! Stop!
Oh.
Stop! I'm sorry I even said it. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. I'm sorry I said it.
Hey, so did you know that Stan has a half-brother named Rusty? No? Well, I mean, how can you even truly call yourself a dadder? I mean, I'm shocked you didn't know, given all of the episode he's been in. Oh. For those of you who don't know who Rusty is, he's Stan's half-brother and is also Cherokee. Can you guess what a lot of the jokes in this episode are based on that one thing alone?
I'm glad that when my dad walked into that nightclub in Santa Fe, eyes damaged by the New Mexican sun, he bedded your Cherokee mother, having mistaken her for a person.
Yep, it's a whole lot of that for 22 minutes. So for a general synopsis, every year Stan invites Rusty and his family to their house for Thanksgiving, with the ulterior motive of sort of rubbing it in their faces how much better off the Smiths are than Rusty's family. One year, Stan decides that in order to teach Steve to appreciate the value of what he has, they're going to be spending Thanksgiving with Rusty's family.
Rusty!
Sorry about the elk. I found him on the side of the road.
You Indians really don't waste a thing, do you? Except for time reading the fine print on treaties.
You getting tired of these jokes yet? 'Cause they're sure not. When they arrive, however, they find out that Rusty and his family are living in a beautiful cliffside mansion, and that Rusty is pulling out over 18 million in copper a year from the land given to him by his and Stan's grandfather. The land, by the way, that they originally thought was going to be crap land, by the way, that he was tricked into taking after Stan screwed him out of 20 grand. The episode then shifts to the Smiths trying to take Rusty's land by force, as they believe that it is truly their land. After a failed attempt, Rusty threatens the Smiths that he'll kill them if they trespass again, and after a helicopter crash, the Smiths are trapped in the desert, with them trying to survive, until they finally are saved at the very end. Forcing someone off their land and screwing them over in deals. Oh, I see what they're doing. That's clever, is what I'd say if it was handled well, which, I honestly don't think it was. It's clear they're trying to go for something of an appreciate what you have and the people around you lesson for them to learn.
I am still thankful for what I do have, like the sunshine and the music and all of you to enjoy life with. This is crap!
but their execution with this is flimsy at best. Obviously, they don't have to try and make the characters learn a lesson at the end of every episode, given the episodic sitcom format of the show, but I find it to be a little bit in bad taste with what they're attempting to convey with the role structures, and for them to just be so obtuse through and through for the whole episode. It's a story rooted in the problems revolving around white privilege, and continues Stan's endeavor with rewriting American history. With a scene that utilizes stop motion, actually. I just wanted to point that out since I think that's pretty neat. But the problem is that there's never this aha moment for the characters. They just continue to treat others the same way they've treated Rusty and his family, with shoving their financial situation in the faces of others. That's literally how the episode ends, but we'll talk about that soon enough. That's not even to mention the fact that Rusty and his family they never come back after this episode. They're mentioned offhand here and there, but more so to poke fun at the idea that Stan even had a Cherokee half-brother in the first place.
Your father and I both wish we were closer with our siblings. My sister Gwen never visits, and Stan's brother is barely even canon.
I didn't even want them to make up, given how badly Stan treated Rusty, but it's just weird that this is just dropped and never spoken of again. And what's worse is that in all of this, Rusty kinda comes out to be a bad person because he was taking his family to Stan's every Thanksgiving for the same reason that Stan was taking his family to Rusty's for that Thanksgiving. So they're kind of both in the wrong here. Honestly, given all of that, that's not even my biggest problem with the episode as a whole. Structurally speaking, it's sort of just like a mess of an episode. The first 2/3 are focused around Stan and Rusty's relationship, which is like fine for the most part, except like all the stuff I just talked about. But then there's the last act, which is focused on them being stranded in the desert and trying to survive, and it sort of just feels like a totally different episode. Then, at the end, when all hope seems lost, out of nowhere, Haley and Jeff show up and rescue them. I didn't mention this before, but this episode takes place right at the end of their marriage storyline, where they had ran away, and they were actually missing for a good few episodes, before making their official return here. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to make them return here and not dedicate an episode to it later, but that's just another addition to the pile. And the episode ends with Stan allowing Haley and Jeff to move back into their house, also that Stan can feel good about himself by lording over Jeff with his better appliances and creature comforts? Okay. Do you see what I mean with this episode kind of being a mess with the story it's trying to tell and what it's trying to say with all of it? Because for the most part, it sort of seems like the reason Stan is so upset that his life is worse than Rusty's is because he was equating their situation back to that of his idea of the Pilgrims and Native Americans. Or, to put it more bluntly, white people and Native Americans.
Don't give them any money. They're just gonna spend it all on deviled eggs.
He had this mindset that he was brought up through that made him think that Native Americans were this caricature that he had developed within his mind and shared with his family, and when it turns out that isn't true, he can't handle that, and does the only thing that he thinks is right: take the land from them. After all, it's what he believed to have happened with the original story of Thanksgiving. So why not just live in the steps of his ancestors? It's almost poetic, in a messed up sense. But when we see Stan content with lording over Jeff at the end, it kinda just throws the past 22 minutes out the window, because apparently he just needs to feel financially superior to someone else? Which was something that's rarely, if ever, mentioned before. So what was the point of having this based around a Thanksgiving story, or even having Stan's half-brother be Cherokee in the first place? I think, in the end, the episode is about Stan learning that you just gotta accept people for who they are, no matter their background or any preconceived notions you may have about them, especially those unestablished. And it's done in the guise of the story of the Pilgrims trying to take the land from Native Americans on Thanksgiving. I just want you all to remember that for later. With all that said, honestly, it's not even that bad of an episode. I just have hang-ups over how they handled certain things, and Stan's racist tendencies towards Native Americans being moot when all he really wanted was to feel financially superior to somebody. I think this episode has good stuff too, don't get me wrong. At the very least, I could say the episode is definitely still funny.
It's amazing how this skin-tight suit doesn't show a boner, even though I'm certain we both have one, right? I just want you to know I'm having a wonderful time.
Which is more than I can say for... 3 years after that episode, they attempted another Thanksgiving episode, their most recent one to date. And honestly, given how this one turned out, it's probably for the best.
USA! 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 Come on, buddy, you gotta join me or I look like a total jerk. USA! USA!
Francine's Chinese adopted parents, Mama and Baba, are visiting the Smiths for Thanksgiving this year, and Stan is upset. Not only because he was hoping to watch the Redskins game in his underwear, but also because he just doesn't like Mama and Baba. And honestly, I kinda don't blame him there. They're pretty bad, both in the actual characters and the Asian stereotypes that follow them around. And while they're nowhere near as bad as they were in their first appearance, it's still pretty noticeable here.
Ah, your Chinese gibberish very mediocre.
The episode then devolves into Stan trying to do whatever he can to get his in-laws to leave the house so that he can enjoy Thanksgiving the way that he wants. Why yes, I do remember this episode of every single sitcom ever. Stan leaves after he thinks he's been driven out of the house by his in-laws, and thanks to the help of some cowboy fans, he comes to the realization that you just gotta accept people for who they are, no matter their background or any preconceived notions you may have about them. Especially those unestablished. Huh. Well, at least it's not done in the guise of the story of the Pilgrims trying to take the land from the Native Americans on Thanksgiving.
All right, Klaus, we're the Pilgrims and Francine's parents are the Indians. If we want to save this Thanksgiving, we've got to get them out of this house.
Me and my big plim mouth. It's hard for me to dock points from an episode like this for Stan learning the same lesson, given, again, this is an episodic sitcom at heart, but it's much easier for me to do it when it's the same lesson for the same holiday special, but with a different race. But you know what? I can look past all of that, and my other gripes too. Like the really uncomfortable B-plot with Mama trying to set up Haley with Big Wang Bai while Jeff is lost in space. I don't know why they keep trying to tie the overlying storyline into these Thanksgiving episodes, but sure, whatever. I can look past all of it. If it weren't such a bore. There is literally nothing going on in this episode. 90% of the plot and conflict take place within the Smith household, and nothing actually happens. It's honestly crazy how straightforward and by the books this episode is compared to literally every other episode of the show up until and past this point. And for a show like American Dad, where even at its worst, there's something interesting or supernatural or sci-fi or trippy happening to distract you, there's literally nothing here. And it's not even funny. There's some mild entertainment to be had from Stan getting his Asian stereotypes mixed up, thinking that Chinese people were afraid of Godzilla and that they hated panda bears, but even then, the only thing that I thought was mildly funny was Stan's reaction.
I don't know why you guys are terrified of these things.
We're not. We love them.
I knew it was one of the two. Francine, I bought a panda.
Other than that, there's literally nothing this episode has going for it. It's literally the most bare bones in-law sitcom script I've ever seen, mixed with a plethora of Asian stereotypes, because those are always just such a hoot.
Not all Chinese people think of Genghis Khan as scary.
Many Chinese view him as great military leader who laid down groundwork for the third new dynasty.
Francine, I bought a horse.
Can't believe we got a Mariah Carey cameo wasted on this episode. Queen deserved better. Now, it might seem like I was kind of really harsh on those two episodes, and truth be told, I probably was more cynical than I needed to be. I just really appreciate the show a lot for its clever writing, fun characters, and over-the-top plot lines. And to see that wasted not once, but twice, and on holiday specials no less. It's disappointing to say the least. I'm glad they stopped doing these and doubled down on both Christmas and later Halloween episodes, because they continue to thrive there. And now that it's November, and Thanksgiving is just around the corner, I just wanted to let you all know how thankful I am for all of you. I started this year at around 2.5 thousand subscribers, and my goal was to hit 5K by the end of 2023. As of now, I've hit more than quadruple that goal, and have surpassed 20,000 subscribers, with more and more coming in. I wanted to thank each and every one of you who has supported me, not only in the past year, but all around. I've met some amazing people, learned some new skills, did things I never would have thought of doing otherwise, and I couldn't have done it without all of you. So, thank you very much for your continued support. And thank you for being patient with me. Because this next video is something that I've been talking about for almost 2 whole years now. And it's something I know a lot of you are clamoring to see.